Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again. My name is Cui Fen, a student from the Faculty of Arts and Social Science. Thank you for being a part of You Alive. Today's program will be split up into 3 portions. The first is a 10-minute talk by our speaker, Mr. Adam Khoo, followed by a 10-minute interview by Mr. Viswa Sadasivan, the chairman of the You Alive committee. And finally, we will be having a 40-minute Q&A session. If you wish to ask a question, do kindly proceed to the microphones located at the side, introduce yourself, and speak into them directly. This is important so that the online community is able to hear your question clearly. So without further ado, please sit back and enjoy.
You Alive.
I learned about what we call empowering beliefs and how to get rid of the limiting beliefs. And one of the most powerful beliefs I was taught is that we all have the same potential deep down inside. That if it's possible for others, it's possible for me. When you set a goal, you have a purpose, right? And you see, when you have a goal that's compelling, that excites you, that juices you, every morning you wake up, you jump out of bed and say, I'm going for that. I'm going to take action today to go for it. If you think about the most successful people in the world, they have got one thing in common. They knew what they wanted to do at a very early age. Human beings are creatures of habit. In fact, I would say 80% of what we do every day is habitual. We've got habitual ways of thinking, habitual ways of behaving. What are your habits? All right? So your habits determine your actions, and your actions determine whether you move towards the goal or away from the goal. So these habits affect your family relationships, affect your finance, affect everything. Whatever goals you set in life, 70% of the time, things will not go according to plan, and that's life. So people who achieve their goals, it's not because things go according to their plan, it's not because they're so lucky. But the difference is that the moment they're off course because of some distraction or some setback, they get back on course immediately. So I say when you set a goal, and it's something I learned myself, you can't look at it once a year, once a month, once a week. You look at it every single day. One of my goals was to make it to NUS. One of my goals was to make my first million. One of my goals was to start my own business, to become a best-selling author. In fact, I also set a goal to get married. I want to get married at 30 years old. I want to have 2 kids, you know. Some of them you achieve it earlier, some later.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adam Khoo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. How are you feeling this evening? Great, wonderful. It's great to see all of you here. And first, thank you so much for being here. I know of the inclement weather. I also like to thank the NUS Alumni Office for inviting me here. It's really an honor to be here. It's also a challenge because for those of you who know what I do, my shortest talk is normally 3 hours. Okay. So I've been asked to talk for 10 minutes. So I was wondering what I'm going to talk about, right? And I talked to Viswa, and he said, Adam, tell us a bit about what drives you. You know, what makes you do what you do, and, you know, how did you get to where you are today following your dream? So I just thought I'll talk a bit about that. Is that okay? Yes. Great, wonderful. Well, for me, it all started, for some of you who may know, when I was young, I was an underachiever. Yeah? I was a typical right brain kid. If you know what right brain means, right? I was a daydreamer in a world of my own, hated studying, disorganized, and I was really bad at studying. I was very bad at maths, couldn't do maths to save my life. Very bad in Chinese. In fact, still bad in Chinese, right? And the only thing I was good in was English, okay? So as a result, when you're no good in studying, you don't like to study. Yeah, and I was from a school called St. Stephen's Primary School. And my parents were hardly around. So being the only child, you always want to get attention. So what do? I get into fights. I get into a lot of trouble. So as a result, in primary 3, I was given a choice by my principal, Mr. Ariel, expulsion or caning. So I chose expulsion because I didn't want to be caned in front of everyone, right? So I was expelled in primary 3. And for about 6 months, I had no school to go to. My mom had to find me another school. So eventually, 6 months later, I went to this school called Nian Primary School. But when I went to that school, I was out of school for 6 months. And I was again lost. I couldn't catch up, so I just gave up. And then I went for my PSLE. And thank God, during our time, PSLE was a lot easier than today. I always say that if I took PSLE today, I would fail miserably. But I managed to just pass by the skin of my teeth. So I passed just in between the normal and express stream, right? In between. So my dad decided to send me to the express stream. In the old days, it was a stigma. In the old days, if you go to the normal stream, it means you're not very normal. You must go to the normal stream, express stream, right? But because of my poor PSLE results, I did not get into any one of my choices. The 6 choices were given, I was rejected from every single choice. So in the end, I was posted to a school which I'd never heard of before, which I didn't even choose. And it's called Pingyi Secondary School. How many of you have heard of Pingyi Secondary School? No? Okay, pretty good. It's been around now for about 20 plus years. But when I was first sent to this school, it was a neighborhood school that was unknown. In fact, they used to rank schools in Singapore, right? My school was ranked number 3 in 1987 from the bottom. Okay. So I went to this school called Pingyi, and what happened was when you go to that kind of school, you got great teachers. I had great teachers, but you mix around with the wrong group of friends. So I mixed around with, the Ah Beng, the Ah Seng, the Ah Lian, the Mud Rocker, people like that, right? And I started smoking at 13 years old. I started to join gangs. I got in a lot of trouble. In those days, my friends were like Zapui, Salakau, An Sun Tong, all the secret societies, right? And so those were my friends, and I got worse and worse and worse. By Sec 1, I almost got retained, couldn't go to Sec 2, and my parents didn't know what to do, right? My father was really upset. He tried everything, right? He scolded me, he beat me, he sent me for all kinds of tuition, even threatened to send me to boarding school. Because my father said, Adam, if you stay in Singapore, you've got no future. There's no way you can make it to poly, let alone university. So I think I'm going to send you to boarding school for 12 years, finish your degree and come back. So I was on the verge of going overseas. At the same time, my parents were also going through a very painful, messy divorce. My mom divorced my father, and she migrated to Australia, where she remarried. She married a kangaroo. No, just kidding. She married an Australian man, okay? So I didn't see my mom for many years after that. So I lived with my father, and my father became a single parent. Yeah? And 1 year later, he remarried. And I had a stepmother suddenly, and my stepmother had a daughter from her first marriage. So suddenly I had a step-sister. My stepsister, her name is Vanessa. And Vanessa was in Raffles Girls' School. And I was in Pingyi. My stepsister was in a gifted education program. And I was in a stupid program, okay? So you know what it's like to have a sibling who is brilliant, right? Makes you look really what? Stupid. So what happened was, after my father got remarried, my stepmother became my new mother. By the way, that was me when I was in Pingyi, okay? And I didn't like my stepmother did not like me. And I don't blame her. Why? I never listened to her. I gave her a lot of trouble. And she always compared me to my stepsister. She would say things like, Adam, why can't you be more like Vanessa? Why are you so lazy? Why are you so good for nothing? All you do is watch TV and play the computer games. You never amount to anything. And she always praised my stepsister. Vanessa, one day she'll be very successful. She'll go to the university. She'll be, great next time. You'll be nothing. And my stepsister was also very arrogant. She used to look down on me a lot with all her friends. She would say, my brothers in a neighborhood school, they're all stupid. We're from RGS, right? So, I was always looked down upon. And in my whole family, I'm the only person in the cool family from a neighborhood school. All my cousins were scholars, RI, ACS, Chinese High, Pingyi. So I could tell that my father felt very embarrassed with me as a child, and it was the lowest point of my life at the time. The divorce made me really depressed. My father was going to send me overseas, and I felt useless, I felt hopeless. But in my heart, I really wanted to change. I really wanted to beat my stepsister. I really wanted to prove my stepmother wrong, okay? But the trouble was, I didn't know how to change. And then the major turning point in my life came when my father talked to Dr. Tony Tan, who was that time the Minister of Education. We happened to meet him in Maldives when we were on holiday together. All right? We were the only Singaporeans there, so we started talking. And my father was complaining to Dr. Tan, said, I don't know what to do with my son, he's so useless and all that. So Tony Tan said, why don't you send him for a motivational program? My father said, what kind of rubbish, all this doesn't work. And Dr. Tan said, why don't you just give it a try? And so he recommended a program at the time, and it was called Super Teen. And I said, what kind of stupid name is that? So my father sent me for this Super Teen program, and when I went to the program, it really touched me a lot. Because when I went through this motivational program, I started to learn about the power of beliefs. I learned about the power of positive thinking. And one of the most powerful things I was taught by my trainer at that time was this. He said, Adam, the reason you're failing is not because you're stupid. It's because you believe you're stupid. And if you want to change your life, you have to change your what? Mindset. See, I used to believe that for things to change, my teacher must change. For things to change, the exam must become simpler. But I learned things like how to take responsibility for my life. That for things to change, I had to change first. And one of the most powerful things that I was taught in this program was this phrase that my trainer taught me. I'd like to share this with you. He says, Adam, we all have the same brain power. If it's possible for others, it's possible for you. It's a question of strategy. So he said to me, Adam, if your stepsister can be in a gifted program, you can also be gifted. I said, really? He said, Adam, if people from RI can score straight A1s, you can score straight A1s in Pingy. I said, really? He said, Adam, if people can be a millionaire, so can you can also be a millionaire. I said, really? Now, the good thing about me is this. I was very naive. And sometimes it's good to be naive, right? And I bought it. I actually believed that man, And he said, it's all a question of strategy, right? If someone scores A's in school, it's not because they're smarter than you. It's because they know how to study. I said, wow. So I started to learn all these learning techniques. And he told me, Adam, the trouble with you is that you're a right brain person. But Singapore educational system is a left brain system. That's why it doesn't work for you. So for you to learn well, you must learn how to use both sides of your brain at the same time. I said, wow. So I started to learn all these things like, mind mapping, which now is really common. But I learned how to use pictures to study, how to memorize using visualization. And I loved it. Why? Because I love drawing. I was a very right-brain kid. I love imagination. And it suited me. And during that camp, just to show you this, they made us walk on a 3-story high beam with no ropes to conquer our fear. And I looked at me, I asked my teacher, I said, Ernest, what if I fall? Then you die. And basically, he told me this: failure is not an option in life. Oh, okay, all right. And I went through that beam experience, walking 3 stories high with no safety rope. And he said that if you can conquer your fear here, you can conquer anything in life. And basically, I got brainwashed by that man. Okay? Right? So I went back to my school, Pingy, and I got so inspired, right? And for the first time in my life, I dared to dream and I set ridiculous goals. And one of my first goals was to top my whole school. My second goal was to make it to Victoria Junior College. And my third goal was to make it to NUS. Right? So I went back to school and started studying very hard and started to do all these mind maps. In fact, this was the mind I did when I was in secondary school. I kept it till today. I actually scanned it in. Excuse my voice. I'm having a really bad sore throat. I'll go on. This was when I did it in JC, right? So what happened essentially was, within a year, in Sec 2, I taught my whole class in Pingy. And I was ranked the top 20 in my whole school, all right? And what happened was, in class, suddenly the teacher came up to me and said, Adam, what happened to you? From the bottom, now you're at the top of the class. And I said, I use all these special learning techniques, right? And she said to me, Adam, can you teach the class how to do it? And my teacher at that time gave me her entire 45-minute period to teach the class about mind mapping, teach them about memory techniques, teach them about goal setting. And I taught the class, I felt so good about it. And then I started to take A4 paper, right? A4 paper, and I started to write articles, how to motivate yourself, how to set goals, how to be a super student. And I photocopied, I gave it out to all my friends. When I was in Pingy, right? And all my friends started saying, wow, Adam, you're a genius, you're so smart, right? And suddenly when my friends started to learn all these techniques, guess what? They started to get inspired and they started to do better as well. And when I saw that, it really inspired me a lot. And that's when I realized that, hey, I love the feeling of being able to change someone's life, being able to inspire people, right? And then I suddenly read a book by Anthony Robbins. Who has heard of Anthony Robbins? Right? And I read his book when I was 15 years old in Sec 3. And I remember in that book, I read about how Anthony Robbins was a school dropout, A janitor. From a janitor at 19 years old, he became a multi-millionaire at what? 24 years old. So I told myself, if this guy can do it, so can I. So at 15 years old, I was so inspired by Anthony Robbins, I set my fourth goal to make my first million by 26. Now, why not 24? Because we got 2 years NS. No, really, I'm serious, right? So, cut a long story short, I thought of all kinds of ways to make money, right? And one of my passions is in music. I love music. So I started a mobile disco company when I was in Ping Yi. And I hosted shows. I was a part-time magician. I love to do magic. I was a part-time MC. I was a DJ as well. So I was making my money running mobile disco shows, right? When I went to junior college, I continued my mobile disco program and started to give tuition. So I gave tuition in order to supplement my allowance, right? And what was great was that a lot of the students I tutored, I was able to not just tutor them the normal way. I taught them all my techniques. I inspired them, and they all became scholars after that. So that's when I realized that I want to do this for the rest of my life, okay? So again, cut a long story short, I started to go to schools when I was in NUS, all right? I'll go to the HOD, and I'll say to them, give me your worst students. Give me your worst students. In 6 months, I'll make them A students. She says, are you crazy? Okay. And I remember they looked at me and said, what's your qualification? I'm in NUS. And they said, you don't even have a degree? I said, no. Why should we trust you? And I said, because I'm still a student, I'm able to relate to the students in the school. And I went to all the so-called the neighborhood schools. And no one would give me the chance to train the students. So I did it for free initially. And when I started to get a lot of results, schools started to employ me. That's how I started training kids. And I started my kids training program, right? And then what happened was, after that, in NUS, when I went to NUS, I got to the Dean's List. I was in a PDP program, which is now called the Scholars Program, right? So I was the pioneer batch. So what happened was, when I started to do really well, I asked myself this question. If someone like me from Ping Yi, from a neighborhood school, if I can be among the top in NUS, everyone can do it. So I got very inspired to write a book to share my story. And so I wrote this book called I'm Gifted, So Are You, when I was in NUS. It was launched when I was here in the third year. And I was really lucky because in the first year, I was ranked the top in the entire national bestsellers list, right? I beat Lee Kuan Yew. I beat Stephen Covey. I beat The Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, right? So since then, I discovered I love to write. So I wrote my second book, my third book, my fourth book, my fifth book. So today I've written 12 books, right? My next book is coming out 2 months' time. So I love writing. I found a new passion in myself. And then what happened after that was, as I did kids training, one of the senior directors of AIA came to me and said, Adam, after my son went for your program, he's now a top student. I said, great. He said, Adam, if you can motivate students, can you motivate insurance agent? I said, I don't know. He said, why don't we give it a try? So for my first assignment, AIA flew me to Shanghai. Now, this was when I was still in NUS. I was a student, right? They flew me to Shanghai to do a 1-hour keynote speech for the platinum premier agents in AIA, the best of the best. And they said, if you do a good job, we'll give you a contract. So I flew to Shanghai, did a 1-hour talk, and came back, was not paid. It was a pro bono talk. I came back, reviews were good. AIA then said this, we're going to give you 2,000 agents to train. Of our worst performing agents in AIA. Create a program for them. So I created a 2-day program called Challenge for Growth, where I trained the agents on how to sell. But I never sell before. I trained them how to set goals, how to motivate themselves, right? And that was how my whole corporate training company started about, all right? So, and then from there, some of you know the story, right? Through the businesses I ran, investing in the markets and all that, I reached my last goal, made my first million. And Anthony Robbins was the one that made me set that goal. I said 2 years after him because of NS, right? And then after that, what happened was, I was initially a one-man show. I did everything myself. And then when I was in NUS, this guy came up to me. His name is Patrick Chio. And he was always in the same group with me during project sessions. And he said to me, Adam, can I be your partner? I said, why not? So since then, we've been best friends. And Patrick is the one that honestly touched my heart. He's the one that built all my businesses, not me. Without Patrick, I wouldn't be here today. He's the CEO of my company. So what I love to do is I love to teach. I love to write books. I hate running companies. I only like to start them. But Patrick is the one that runs it all for me. He builds everything for me. So we're like a tag team show in that matter, right? So he signs the check, he pays me every month. Okay. All right, and we are partners in the business. So I realized that you can't be good in everything. You have to find people of complementary skills to bring up to where you are. Like for example, the Bill Gates needed a Steve Ballmer. Well, Steve Jobs did everything himself, but he needed Steve Woz, right? You need people to work with. So I'm sorry, I exceeded the time, but that's my best attempt at my life in 10 minutes, right? So thank you very much.
You done? Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
I could have continued for another 1 hour, no? Listening to him. You are an exceptionally inspirational speaker. I was sharing with you earlier on that I shared your story, the research notes that I got with my 13-year-old daughter. And she told me immediately that she wants to attend his camp just by reading his research notes. It's a good thing that she isn't here to see you, because then she'd want to move in with you.
No, I don't think so.
But let me ask you a question that's been on my mind for some time, which is, there are people who think and view you as a person with a huge ego. Because anyone who starts a company with his name as a title must have a huge ego, right? So it's Adam Khoo this, Adam Khoo that. Is this an ego ride, or is it really about your belief in people? And be honest.
Sure, I'll be honest. Yeah. When I first started, a big part of it was recognition. I wanted to be recognized. I wanted to be somebody, right? Because in my earlier years, I was always the nobody. I was always the black sheep of the family. So I really wanted to prove to myself, and also to prove to my parents that, hey, I'm not that dumb person you thought I was. So yes, in the beginning, it was a lot about recognition. I wanted to be somebody, And if you were to ask that question, was it about ego that started the company's name? Okay, that one is not, okay? I'll tell you why. I sat out with Patrick at the time, and we were thinking of all kinds of company names, right? Is it like High Achievers or what, And then we decided on Adam Khoo as a brand because of the book. Because I was very well known as already a trainer out there, and they say, hey, why reinvent the wheel? Why do you write on the brand equity? So in fact, that's one of the main reasons. In fact, just something to share with you, about 4 years ago, we were thinking of changing the whole company's name to get rid of Adam Khoo company and call it like A, B, C, D, whatever it is, right? And the reason is for succession, right? I said, Adam, what if you die, And we are explaining to other countries and so on and so forth and all that. And I said, fine, if you need to change it, come change it. I'm okay with it, right? And we then got Aecon Consulting.
Yep.
We paid them about $20,000 to do an island-wide survey on the Adam Khoo brand. To ask people, have you heard of the brand? What do you think of it? And when you think of the word Adam Khoo, do you think of just a person, or do you think of a company? And we say, based on the survey results, we shall make the decision. And to our surprise, most people actually answered, when we think of Adam Khoo, we think of the company. The programs. And that's when we decided to stick to it. So I've always been happy to change the name anytime if it benefits the growth of the company.
Is it wrong to have a strong ego?
You need to have an ego to a sense. You definitely need to have an ego on stage, all right? But you cannot allow it to become unhealthy, okay? And I'll give you an example why. Like in my company now, I've got about 30 trainers with me. And I'm very, very careful, because if it's always about Adam Khoo, why would they want to stay with me? They say, I want to start my own name, right? So I'm very clear to say, okay, I need to recognize them as well. That's why if you look at a lot of the books which I wrote recently, I always co-write with another one of my trainers to build them up as well. Because everybody wants to be a somebody. So you must learn how to make use of your ego, to give yourself that self-confidence, to dare to do things. But not to the extent that it destroys you. And you make stupid decisions because of that. Like if I say, no, it must be Adam Khoo. Like recently we just went to China. And I decided don't call it Adam Khoo, because Adam Khoo can't speak Chinese, right? And no one knows me there, so why use Adam Khoo? Use something else. It works.
Give me an example of where ego can destroy you and can destroy others, from your experience.
Okay. When you decide or act in a way that's not in the best interest of your company or your family or your friends for that matter. Like for example, about 5 years ago, I was a CEO when I started the company, right? And I told myself this. I said that, you know what, Patrick, why don't you take over as CEO? I said, but you're the brand name and all that. I said, but I don't care. And if the company does go listed one day, I do not want to run the company because I don't like running a company. I like to do what I do. And so I say, you be the CEO. And I feel that if I had this ego, I'll say, no, dude, I'm the CEO. All my trainers are under me. But I always encourage my trainers to write books. I encourage them to brand themselves, okay, so that they can grow as well. Yeah.
The other question is about money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also very clear that money was a big driving force for you,
Yeah.
right? Nothing to apologize about,
Yeah.
but it was a very big driving force,
Yes.
right? Now, how much of whatever you do, I mean, you talked just now about going out there and making a difference, transforming lives,
Yeah.
right? How much of it is clever marketing, and how much of it was really business and making money?
Yeah. I always say that I'm not in the business of education. I'm in the education business. So education has always come first. To an extent that when we make decisions in a company, I would rather lose money on a project or on a program initially, but to give the best experience I could. But in the long term, to make that money back in order to pay the bills and so on and so forth. When I first started, no doubt, money was a big driving force, all right? One reason, I guess, is I come from a pretty well-to-do family, right? I grew up in a bungalow with a swimming pool. My dad's really wealthy and all that. But my dad made it very clear to me that you're not getting a single cent. And my dad never gave me a single cent to start my business. In fact, he was very against me going into business. My dad always wanted me to be a doctor, a civil servant. In fact, when I wanted to go to NUS Business School, he said, no, it's a general degree, it's worthless. You must be a lawyer, you must be an engineer. And I said, no, I want to do my own business, right? So he was never encouraging me to go into business. But now, of course, he looks back and says, thank God you didn't listen to me, all right? But the whole point of it was because I grew up in that surrounding, and I told myself this, that I want to continue to have that great life. And like every young person growing up, you want to buy that dream car, you want to buy that dream house, you want to have that dream lifestyle. So initially, that drove me a lot. But once you make enough of it, after a while, for some reason, you find that it's not as important anymore.
Yeah. When did that happen?
That happened, I guess, in my mid-30s, which was, I guess, about 4 or 5 years ago. You become a bit more spiritual and things like that, right? And you realize that money doesn't make you happy for long. It makes you happy for maybe one day, all right? But what truly makes you happy consistently is doing what you love and working with people you love. That's more important. So today, I make my decisions based on, am I going to have fun? Am I going to help people? Am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to enjoy the people around me? If I am, I'm going to do it. And if I'm going to make a lot of money not having that, I don't want to do it at all.
Yeah. A friend of mine who's very, very rich told me recently, it's not how much of money you make, it's what you do with that money that matters. So what have you done with all the money that you've made?
Actually, the interesting thing is this, I don't spend money at all.
You invest?
I invest, I don't spend at all. I always joke, my wife spends all my money, right? And she says, I spend all his money. I don't spend money. I hate shopping, okay? I maybe buy clothes like maybe twice a year when I go to, and I go on sale when I go to Bangkok.
But you've got a sports car.
Yeah, that's my only indulgence, that's my only toy. Because I love cars, all right? And besides that, I don't spend on anything else, right? But I love investing. I give you an example, right? Like the iPhone 5 came out, right? I love iPhones, but I will not change my iPhone. I will not change my iPhone 4 until it dies. That's how stingy I am, right? But I'll not think twice picking up the phone or going online and buy stocks for 200K just like that. But I will not buy that $800 phone. Because what's the point? Is it going to make me happy or not? Yeah.
It's probably also because that's not going to give you enough returns on investment.
I guess. That too is right.
So it still boils down to growing your wealth,
Growing your
right?
wealth, yeah.
Okay, let me ask you the most important question, right?
Yeah.
Which is, at this stage in your life, how old are you now? 16?
I'm 38.
Oh, okay, sorry. 38, huh?
Yeah.
38.
Almost your age.
Yeah, almost my age. Yeah. You don't want to go there, okay, my friend? Okay. Okay, so you're 38. 38 is a very, very, very important year because it's 2 years before you turn 40. Something happens when you turn 40,
Yeah.
let me warn you, and something worse happens when you turn 50. Now, what's the transformation you have seen in yourself in your life goals, in your desire to make a difference in people's lives, right? What's the transformation you're seeing? What is it that you feel you can do in the next decade?
It's interesting. When I first started, like I said, I think one of my strongest drivers was recognition when I first started in my 20s. That is what drove me to write the book, to start the business and all that. And the funny thing is, once I achieved a lot of those things, I lost my drive for a while. For about a year plus, I couldn't get myself to write the next book. I just couldn't finish it. I couldn't get myself to create the next program. And I said, my God, Adam, what happened to you? How come I became lazy? And after a lot of reflection, I asked myself, is it because I burnt out early? And this was in my late 20s, like 27, 28 years old. And then I came to realize because my values had changed. As you grow older, your values began to change, where recognition was still important, but it was not as important anymore.
Yeah.
And what got me from there, 28 to now 38, the last 10 years, the values have been more of two things. And one is really contribution. I love it when someone's eyes brighten. Whether a kid says, wow, I can study now, or my student says, wow, I can make money in the stock market now, that the ability to touch that person, that joy you get, that juices me. That makes me write the book, and that's the program. The second thing that drives me is responsibility. Suddenly when you become a father, you feel very responsible. I'm now the role model, I'm going to look after my kids. But also I feel that great sense of responsibility to the people who work for me. Right now I've got over 120 staff just in Singapore alone. And I mean, their livelihood depends on my business success. They want to get promoted just like everyone else. They want to have a good job just like everyone else. So I have to keep growing the business to give them that aspiration as well. So it's really about responsibility and giving that contribution that really drives me right now. And recognition is still, but it's not as important.
Sure. What would you say is a special gift that you have?
I think one gift
Put aside
really,
modesty. Put aside modesty. What's a special gift that you have?
I think the gift I'm most grateful for is my ability to understand people and to be able to communicate complicated concepts in a very simple way and to be able to inspire people to take action.
How do you think you could transform that gift, the use of that gift in the next 10 years?
How could transform that gift?
Because so far you've used it in a certain way, right?
Yeah.
With children and others.
Yeah.
Do you think you could use it for politicians?
If they would like me to, I'll be happy to
I mean,
help.
God only knows we need that, right? So, would you consider that?
To help? Yeah, why not? You know,
Yeah.
if
Do you think they will accept your help?
I really don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because you came from Pingi.
Because I came from Pingi, that's right. And I'm not a scholar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I think a lot of people who have met you, when I spoke to them, they tell me that what they're most impressed with is it's almost as if it's a God-given gift that you have to be able to go out there and do what you do, right? And the general sense I get is people feel that someone with your gift can do something more and something different in the next 10 years, 20 years. You know, have you even thought of that? Sorry for persisting.
In politics, you mean?
No. Is it?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Okay? Not yet. But is there anything else that you thought of? I mean, I'm talking about maybe even creating a foundation, something like that. Something, maybe you may think you're too young for that.
Yeah,
Have you thought of those things?
definitely.
To extend your belief system?
Absolutely. I mean, I want to touch as many people as I can. All
Yeah.
right, and that, I mean, through my books and all that. And I just want to go out there and meet more people in more countries. And hopefully with the help of social media and technology, I'm able to do that. You know, and I feel I'm not doing enough of that, in fact. I want to do a lot more of that.
Yeah. And you remember we were chatting earlier on, you know, you have the special ability to connect with people across strata because you came from a rich family with the swimming pool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those days some more, no? And you also were a Paikia,
I was a Paikia.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fantastic breadth of experience, you know. Now, very few people have that breadth to be able to reach that wide range of people, to change, right? So, let me ask you this final question before I throw it open to the floor.
Yeah.
What if there's one thing you want to change in our education system? If you are the education minister, which won't happen, right?
Which
Because
won't
you're not going to go into politics. Okay. If you are the education minister, what is that one thing that you would want to change, given your experience with young people?
I think what the government is doing is in the right direction, all right? As in they want to go towards more 21st century thinking skills, innovation skills, doing away with standardized tests and exams. They are going in the right direction. It's exactly what I'll do. The challenge is, of course, how long it'll take to make it happen. How long it'll take to filter through filter through down to the system. It's going to take 10, 20, 30 years. But I think they're doing the right thing. They're going in the direction. But I think it's not just about policies that have to change. It's about the people's mindsets that have to change, all right? Especially the parents' mindset. You know, before my 2 kids were born, my wife and I promised each other we won't be the kiasu parents. We won't send them for extra tuition, and now we have become one of them. We have become, you know, and my kids are only in primary 1, primary 2, and really my wife is freaking. Oh my God, they only got 70%. Their friend got 90%. Oh my God, Adam got sent them for more tuition. Oh my God, and I keep reminding her it doesn't matter. And she knows it logically, but emotionally it's really hard because everyone is competing so hard. And sometimes I get sucked in as well. So that has got to change. And it begins with every single one of us. To have faith in our kids that even if they don't score straight, even if they're not a scholar, they can still be great doing what they love to do. It's having that faith.
Do you realize you haven't answered my question?
Well,
this guy, major psycho. No.
No.
Hey, it doesn't work with me, huh?
No,
Major smoke screen and all. Okay, my question, in case you didn't hear it the first time, my question is, if you were the education minister, not the mother of all parents, okay, if you were the education minister, what is it you would change?
Okay, the first thing I'll do is I'll do away with streaming at a very young age, okay, which is again what they've talked about, right?
Yeah.
I'll do away with standardized testing because it's unfair. Because I believe that kids are all gifted in a certain area. Some are more gifted towards arts and so on and so forth, and they are attempting to do that. But they're only doing that at, again, the secondary level. By primary school, by the time they reach there, their self-esteem has been destroyed by the streaming and the standardized testing and all that. So I'll make all the changes, right? Do away with standardized testing, a lot more project work, a lot more creativity, a lot more innovation, a lot more learning through play, a lot more discovering themselves. A lot of what, again, a lot of the international schools are doing, what the IB programs are doing, what they're doing in the US.
Do you think it's possible in Singapore
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
to implement it as a policy?
Yeah, they're attempting to do it. I think it's easier to implement it as a policy. It's more difficult to execute it going down.
Yeah.
Because it'll take a whole generation's change for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the teachers are now educated in the 80s and 90s mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, we throw it open. As I always say, keep your questions short, no speeches. He is the only one who can make a speech today, okay? So try and keep your questions short, focused, and one question at a time, please. Please, floor is open. You can also make a comment. Yes.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Adam Khoo.
Hi.
I'm a third-year student from Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. I would like to ask a question about
What's your name?
Joel.
What's your IC number?
Sorry?
Rank name, IC number.
Okay, it's all right. Okay. There are some similar motivated events and camps in Singapore now. So how do you view the competition, and how would you like to remain the programs in your company be unique and be the best? Thank you.
Sorry, what did you say before that? You were saying what camps, what events?
Some similar motivated events and camps in Singapore now, yeah.
Yeah, nowadays there are so many of these motivational programs
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Yeah, there are a lot of them around, right? So again, I always say that, and by the way, people have always asked me, aren't you worried that people take your material and they replicate it? Been done a lot of times. I've got people who join me, they take my stuff and they run their own programs. And there's no way to protect it. The only way to protect your brand is through innovation. So I always make sure that whatever people are doing in the market right now, in my standards, is really obsolete. I'm like 2 years, 3 years ahead of them. All right? So the way I differentiate is, number one, we always innovate the latest learning technologies. But to me, that's not the most important thing. What's the
Sorry,
most
when you say technologies, what do you mean?
learning techniques? Teaching them the latest learning techniques.
Techniques or technology? What is
Techniques.
Techniques,
That
okay.
sometimes is based on technology.
Okay.
Like how do you learn using the iPad and so on and so forth, right?
Okay.
But to me, that's not the most important thing. To me, the most important thing about these programs is not just touching the mind. It's really touching the heart.
Yeah.
And very few people can touch the heart. So to me, it's not as simple as putting an ad in the papers and hiring ex-teachers or people and train them up. You have to find people with passion. And I love people who are underachievers themselves and they were able to go through that process of doing well and they can relate to the student. And it's very hard to find a trainer like that. So I can tell you in the last 10 years, I've found maybe right now about 15, 20 of them who can do that kind of thing. And really that is the way, that is really our competitive advantage. The ability to touch the heart of the kid and to change their mindset and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The lady had a hand up at the beginning. So
Well,
yeah.
introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is Valerie and I am the online moderator tonight. So while Adam was talking on stage, there was an online conversation going on. So I know you said one question, but can I ask two very simple, straightforward questions? Okay. So the first question comes from username Lawrence Ang, and he asked, what are some of the tips that you would give to an NUS student? And my guess is to become a more effective student. And we've got another question here from Lu Lian asking what a typical day in the life is like for Adam Khoo.
Okay, the first question is, what advice do I have for an NUS student in terms of doing well in studies or in terms of preparing for their life? What context?
He didn't specify, but I'm just guessing how to just be a better student.
I think one of the most important things to do while you're a student is to have work experience. I'm a firm believer in that. So while you're studying in NUS, even if you don't need the money, go work. Go work during your school holidays. Do part-time work even as you're studying during your semester. And I find that the best job to do is selling, is to go into sales. Right? Because a lot of people I find who graduate with the degrees and the masters, they've got that IQ, but they don't know how to sell themselves or sell their ideas. And they lack the EQ. And one of the best ways to trade is to go into sales. Because that teaches you self-confidence, teaches you how to get rejected, teaches you how to overcome rejection, teaches you how to sell yourself. That's my advice. All right? Because if you can sell, you can succeed anywhere you go. All right? The second question was about...
Day in the life of Adam Khoo.
Day in life of Adam Khoo. Okay. Actually, my life is extremely unstructured. And I like it that way because I'm a very right-brain, unstructured person. So a day could start where I wake up in the morning and I bring my wife out and we spend half the day at Universal Studios. In fact, I just did that 2 days ago, right? After that, I go play golf. I come back to the office. I meet up with my heads of department. Then I will start to look at my stock positions because I trade semi-professionally. And then I'll spend time with the kids. I'll tutor the kids when they get home, spend time with the wife, have a lot of fun. And night, normally what I do is I trade the US markets to about 2, 3 a.m., right? Plus I do a lot of reading in between that. That could be one day. Another day, I could wake up in the morning and the entire day from 8 a.m. all the way to 11 will be training on stage. Okay, and then after that, go back and trade the markets again. Okay. Another day could be wake up and from morning all the way to evening, meetings. Meeting with my staff, meeting with business partners and so on and so forth. Another day I could be flying around. So extremely unstructured. And that's what I love about my life.
No exercise?
Yeah, exercise. I exercise typically 3 to 4 times a week on a treadmill.
What do you do while exercising?
Nothing. I watch TV.
Okay.
Bloomberg. CNBC.
Even that, he's got to absorb information.
Yeah.
Relax. Go and watch some movie or something.
If I run without anything, I get bored, man. I have to occupy my mind.
Don't you feel sorry for him? I feel like I get bored damn easily. High energy guy. Okay. Let's have a fiery, sizzling question, man. Come on. Yes. Is it a sizzling question? Okay, good. Then go to the mic. Please go to the mic. Somebody else had a question here, right? Yes.
Okay. Hi, Adam. I think right now you are quite famous in Singapore.
Name.
Okay. By the way, myself, I'm Danielle from NUS Business School. So I'll say myself as your junior lah. So what I feel is now since you are very famous in Singapore and you are inspired by this like Anthony Robbins. So he's kind of the speaker from the Western side and they have also inspired Asians. How do you want to make yourself more like famous in the whole Asia and especially maybe in the future in the whole global stage? Like made in Singapore, built in Singapore, then affect the whole globally.
How do I want to make myself more famous? Okay. Like I say, I think that doesn't excite me anymore. I don't want to get more famous. I mean, if it's a byproduct, fair enough. But I want to be able to reach out to a lot more people. Yeah. And I am doing that through my companies. In fact, I've got a great team of people ever expanding our business through the books and through the programs we run through our franchises. Right now, besides Singapore, we're also in Malaysia, we're in Indonesia, We're in Hong Kong, we're in China, we're in Vietnam. Recently, we just entered the Middle East. All right, we sold a franchise there. Plus, we're in India as well, franchise as well. Plus, we just sold a franchise to Amsterdam. Yeah, so we are reaching out in our little way. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
First of all, nice to meet you today. And I am a research engineer in NUS. I just started to work this year. I'm 28 years old, and I feel it's a very embarrassing age because I just start my PhD study and start to work. And I already get married and have children. So I don't know how to make a balance between my family and my work. I don't want to be a famous person, but I want to earn enough money for my little baby. So sometimes feel confused about how you do that.
It's a big challenge to balance, right? And sometimes when you spend a lot of time in one area building up your business, you have to make sacrifices. And I've been really lucky to have a very understanding wife. She's been with me for the last 16 years, and she looks after the family and the kids and all that. And I've been very lucky in that way because, yeah, you're right, because there are times when I first was building the business, I had very little time to spend with the kids. You know, right now I'm beginning to spend more time because my business is stabilizing. So definitely when you first start off, it's going to be really challenging. And I did my best when I was traveling a lot to bring my babies with me at that time, bring my wife with me to travel around to do the work together. So it's tough, but you have to do your best to find a way. And
Okay,
make sure your
thank you.
husband is understanding. If not, beat him to understanding.
Thank you.
If he's not understanding, send him for Adam Khoo's. Yes. Yes. Our champion. Give him a hand. La.
Yeah.
You know, he has been attending every single monthly event, You Alive, since January of last year.
Yeah. Okay. My name is
21 times.
yeah. My name is Tan Siping, graduate of University of Malaya back in '55. Okay. I just want to ask Adam, to what extent do you owe your success to your own personality? You are outgoing people and all that. If you are very shy people, very afraid to meet people, I'm sure it will be a failure, right? And also, because of your personality, you want to meet the challenge. You turn the crisis into an opportunity. You want to prove your stepmother and stepsister wrong. Yeah. Therefore, you go out and set your mind to prove them wrong. That's why you go all out to do it. Therefore, to what extent you depend on your own inner self, that means your own personality, to bring out all these sort of things.
So nature versus nurture question, right?
Yes.
Actually, that's a very, very good question. A lot of people ask me. You'd be surprised. Have you heard of the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Profiling Tool? I took the profiling tool many times. Guess what's my profile between introvert and extrovert?
Introvert.
I'm an extreme introvert. Right? In fact, when I was a lot younger in school, I was never a prefect, I was never a monitor, I was never the guy who stood up there during speech day and, compared. I was always the guy holding back, and I was always keeping to myself. And in fact, I learned how to get myself out of my comfort zone, to learn how to dare to speak out and meet people. And going through those programs I went through, the NLP programs, really helped me a lot to get out of that comfort zone. So, in fact, being an introvert has advantages. Because I'm an introvert, I'm always in the world of my own. I'm always thinking, and that helps in the writing of the books. So I've learned how to switch. So when I'm on stage, I force myself to go into my extrovert self. When I'm off stage, I normally like to be alone. Actually, in my life, I've got very few friends. I've only got maybe 2 good friends and my wife. I'm not the type that goes partying because I like to be with myself. So to answer that question, personality-wise, I'm actually an introvert by nature. Just now you mentioned something interesting. You said I had a gift of speaking and communication and all that. Again, I don't know whether you call that a gift or something which I just learned how to do. Again, when I was young, I wouldn't say I was particularly good at communication. In fact, I was very shy when I was young. But the funny thing is that when I first started, when I was given a chance in that program to go out there and teach the students, right, they started to enjoy my teaching, and I started to do more and more of it. I built that skill. And remember, I read this book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers. And in that book, he's a sociologist. He talks about talent, people who are talented in music, in art. He said how much of it is born and how much of it is nurtured, right? And through that book, through his research, he found that it's 99% nurtured. That to create talent in a certain area, you have to spend 10,000 hours doing that same thing consistently. And I look back and say this, did I spend 10,000 hours speaking through my book talks and through my training programs? Yes. And it's only when I hit that mark that I was able to do it easily, fluently, and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of it was sheer doing that thing until I got good at it. And even writing, I mean, back in school, my compo never got an A. It was always a B or C. I never really liked writing last time. But I never knew I could write until I wrote. And I just kept writing till I was good at it.
So how much of it is a habit that you have consciously sort of, is almost like a mission? And how much of it is motivated by your deep desire to make a difference?
How much of it is motivated by?
How much of it is mission driven?
Yeah.
Right? That means you've set a target. I mean, you appear to me as someone who sets targets, makes it your mission to achieve those targets, right? Yeah. So you are driven by that.
By a goal.
But by a goal, you're almost obsessed, right?
Yeah.
Now, how much of what you do is driven by that as opposed to driven by a deep desire to make a difference in the lives of the people you meet, you interact with?
It's connected. It is connected.
How?
You see, I always say that when you set a goal, it is called the what. For example, I want to write this book, it's a what. I want to go to China to train 10,000 people, that's a what. But why do you want to do that? What is the why behind that? So the why is because I want to make a difference, I want to contribute. The why is I want to feel good about it, right? So that's the what. The what is the mission, the goal, but the why is the ability to contribute and to make that happen. So I find a lot of people in life may have a lot of whats. They set all kinds of goals, but they're not driven to do it because they don't know why they're doing it. They don't have that why. And they're doing it for the wrong reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick question. Can you share with us one story of how you transformed the life of an individual?
Okay.
Just one.
Just one. Okay. I'll share with you the story of Wu Chiat-min. All right. Chiat-min, I'll tell you a story. I think she's from NUS, if I'm not wrong. Okay. She scored 9A1s for the O levels. Right. This was 27 years ago. Now she's in her 40s. Right. She was in Mensa, she was in a gifted program, she married a doctor, had 2 children, her life was perfect. Then back in 2004, when she delivered her 3rd child, she suffered a stroke. And she went into a coma for 21 days. And when she woke up of the coma, half the body was paralyzed, right? And she lost 80% of her working memory. She couldn't even recognize her children. And she lost her ability to speak. She started stuttering, right? So imagine someone who was so successful, overnight you become like that. What does it do to you? Basically, she lost her confidence. She lost a sense of identity of who she was. From someone who was worthwhile, she said, I'm useless. And her doctor said something to her. He said, Chiat-min, her neurologist said this, Chiat-min, you will never recover to the level where you once were. And she went into deep depression. And she was so depressed, she put on a tremendous amount of weight. And it was at the lowest point of her life that her friend brought her down to my preview, which I run. I run a program called the Patterns of Excellence, which is based on NLP. And I remember that during the preview, she was sitting there at the end of the preview when I talked about how they could join. And she was crying, right? And I said to her, I said, do you want to join the program? And she says, nothing can help me. And I looked at her and she told me her story. And I said to her, I said, what have you got to lose? You have lost everything. And she said, you're right. And she came. And when she came for the program, essentially, one of the most powerful things that hit her was this. Before that, she kept saying that, the stroke made me depressed. The stroke made me useless. But one of the most powerful things she said that she learned in the program was that I was creating my own depression. And I had a choice whether I want to choose to be depressed the rest of my life or do I want to choose to get back to who I was. So she got really inspired after the program. She set her goals. She had a few goals. Number one was to lose weight. Her second goal was to join the Toastmasters and to be certified as a competent Toastmaster. Her third goal was to get back into the workforce because she has been out of work for a couple of years. She didn't even have the confidence to ever dare to try to get a job back. And her fourth goal was to start her own little business. And I'm so proud that within about 2 years after the program, she achieved all the 4 goals. And she was then interviewed and she was featured on the Sunday Times half-page article, right, on how she had this great breakthrough. And during that article, they actually interviewed her, and they asked her, I said, what made the difference? And she said it was, Adam Khoo's program that brought me out of depression and my stroke, and today I'm normal again. And that was the thing that was one of the most touching things. That's it.
I noticed that when you spoke about this, about her, your tone changed. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Because you became a slightly different person. You spoke a lot slower. There was emotion in your voice. There was emotion, obviously, in your eyes. I can see because I'm close enough. No, but that was one of the things I couldn't see earlier, because you were chop. Let's get. I was trying to understand who this person really is. I think I'm seeing a glimpse of that. Okay?
Can I share one more story?
Yeah. And I guess on a personal level, I wish you'd allow this side of you to be seen a lot more, and not just the other side, which is purely mission-driven. Because I think there's a lot more about you that people can and need to see. So it'd be wonderful if you can share another story.
I'll share with you another one, which I'm really, this is one of these stories that really touches me. This happened back in 06, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 years ago, right? This boy, what's his name? Hold on.
Let's call him Muthu.
It's a Chinese kid.
Let's call him Muthu. Okay.
His name will come later on. Anyway, his mother brought him to my camp. And what happened at that point of time was he was in Sec 2. He was arrested for assaulting other kids. And he was placed on, I think it was an 18-month probation. Okay? And when he first came to my camp, he was extremely resistant. He hated the mom. He wouldn't even look at the mom or speak to the mom. Right? And he had earrings and studs everywhere and so on and so forth. Right? And he basically hated the world. He said that, I don't want to study, I just want to go and work. And after he came to the camp, and I spoke to him, and he made that shift in his mind, right? He went back, and he reconciled the mom. He started talking to the mom and saying to the mom, I'm sorry I did this, and please give me another chance. And from becoming close to a school dropout, arrested, probation, became one of the top students in his class. And then he wrote to me and said, Adam, this is the success story I had. And I said to him, would you like to come back to be one of my assistant coaches? Because I invite my old students to come back to be role models, right? And he said to me, me? I said, yeah, why not? Why don't you come back and help me to teach other students? But he said, really? I said, yeah, come back. I said, on one condition, you got to dye your hair and remove your ear studs and your nose. If not, parents are going to freak out, right? And he came back, and he coached in one of my primary school programs. And he was in charge of one of this group of 12-year-old kids. And we put him in charge of one of the group of kids, which one of the most naughty and one of the most rebellious, right? And he had this ability, to tell them to, wake up their idea and to see things differently, and got them to make all these shit, right? And on the last day, when the parents came down to pick up their kids, this parent came up to me and said, my child has changed so much, and thank you. I said, you should thank the coach. Who's the coach? I said, sorry, I remember his name. His name is Yu Yan. Right? I said, Yu Yan is assistant coach. And the mother went up to him and said, Yu Yan, thank you changed my son's life. And I saw Yu Yan, this guy who looked like, that time, real Abing, cried. He cried. And he said to me, Adam, from now on, every time you run a camp, I'm going to be there. And since then, for 6 years, he's back for every camp as one of my, and he's got promoted to a program director as well, right? And the mom says to me, Adam, I don't understand. I can't even get him to make his bed for 10 minutes. How are you able to get him to work for you for 5 days for free? And he's happy, right? And I said, because when he comes to my place and he works with all these kids, he feels like, I'm someone. I'm someone. But back in school, people say he's no one. So you find that even the people who we have written off, these are the people who also want to be a somebody in life. And when given the chance, they will do all they can to prove to you that they can do that. Yeah. So never write anyone off.
It's a great story. Yeah. Great story. Yes.
Good evening, my name is Joshua, and my question is the follow-on to Mr. Viswa's last question on education. Many students see results doing well in exams as the key of success. As motivational trainers, some of that job is having to motivate these students to do well. Do you feel there's an excessive focus on exams in Singapore?
Definitely there is, But again, I will tell the kids, do your best to do well. And score A's not for the sake of scoring A's, but score A's for the sake of having the habit that whatever you do in life, do the best. Just do the best. And the A's is just a reflection of you putting your best. But you know what? If you put in your 100%, your very best, and you don't get an A, it's fine. But you put in your best in whatever you do. Yeah.
I believe you have a follow-up question. You can't leave without a follow-up question.
Exactly.
Because that was not a satisfactory answer. So, you stand there until you ask the question.
Did I answer your question, by the way?
Not quite. I'm just
See, I told
DPM's
you.
comments on how there's excessive focus on the exams in Singapore. And also, do you feel a disconnect, especially as a motivational trainer? You're training these children to do well in exams, but at the same time, you do feel that exams are not the only thing.
Absolutely.
But Joshua, let me ask you, do you think it's excessive?
I do think so.
So you seem to want to push that agenda, right?
But that's one side.
Yeah, good. No, so why don't you state your position?
Okay,
Come
sure. I studied overseas for a while and I came back to Singapore not having done an exam before. And it was very difficult for me to adjust. And I feel that there are those people who don't do well and the system tells them that they're failures. Some people can rise above it, but not everyone can. So what happens to these people? That's what I'm thinking about.
Isn't that a much better way of putting the question? What do you think, guys? Yeah. Okay, now you answer it.
Okay. No, definitely there's too much emphasis on exams. And here's the thing, it's because it's a paper chase. It's a paper chase, and nothing will change until, the government changes. I'll tell you why. I give you an example. When I hire people, now I hardly do interviews nowadays, my guys do it. But when I was doing interviews with people, the last thing I look at are their grades. That's the last thing I look at, right? What I look at is the ability to have a conversation with me and be able to share with me their ideas, and I want to see the passion, the fire in their eyes. That's what I want to see. And that they have common sense. That's all I ask. All right? And they believe in what they do. And grades is the last thing I look at. All right? If everyone was like that, I guess we won't be so pressured to do well in school in terms of producing grades. But the fact is, especially if you want to join the government, they look at grades. Whether you get that pay scale depends on is it honors and all that. And if that doesn't change, nothing changes because they set the tone, they set the benchmark, right? Now, do I feel conflict when I train kids? And I thought, you got to score A's, right? Versus you got to follow your dream. Sometimes I do. At the same time, I believe that you can do both together. And an example I can give is my own example, all right? So when I was in NUS, I was doing my business. I was writing my book. I was going with my girlfriend. I was doing all these things, right? But at the same time, I wanted to score straight A's. Because, again, my attitude is if I'm doing something, why don't I just do the best of it? It's not that I need the A's, but I just want to prove to myself that I'm doing the best,
But Joshua's point is that there definitely must be people, kids out there, who, despite all the efforts that you may use to intervene, the self-esteem is so low. The inclination towards the academic side is so low, so weak, that it's not going to make a difference. I mean, I've met a lot of kids like that, who find it very hard to switch codes. Now, what do you do with kids like this? Doesn't the system unfairly disadvantage them? Besides, not all of them can afford your camp.
Yeah, absolutely. We have cheaper versions as well. We run in schools.
Your cheaper version is what, 1,000?
No, actually $120.
$120.
EduSave, and it's paid for by EduSave.
Oh, okay.
You don't pay a cent.
But there are people who can't afford that as well, But my point is, what do you do? What do you do when have you come across people, kids, who, in spite of whatever you do, the mental block is so strong? You can't break it.
I would say that those who really want to do well, they will improve. Not all of them will score straight A's, but they will see an improvement.
But what if they don't want to do well? What if you can't crack the nut?
Then I'll ask them, what are you passionate about? What else do you want to do well in? And I'll point them in that direction and inspire them to do well in that. But I say at the end of the day, you still need some basic qualifications to get you in the door. You still need that. You still need at least that O levels where you need that. the IT diploma, for example. You need that. Right.
Okay. Joshua, should we let you off the hook?
Thank you very much.
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. All right, we have questions. We have, how many more? How many hands? Wow. You guys wait till the end. Huh? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, can we have 4 questions at one go? And then 3. Okay? The gentleman right behind is last. Okay? So, first installment, first tranche of 4 questions. Can we have the others join in, please, while the first... Yes, you may ask your question.
This is Alex from Business School, 09. This guy changed my life when I was in poly. I went to his camp, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he was having his flu 6 years ago, and now he's still having it.
It's not flu, it's sore throat.
Sore throat. Yeah, he's eating a lot of Burger King. Do you still do that nowadays?
McDonald's, actually.
How do you keep your health going, sleeping at like 4 hours a day? That's my question. Health.
I don't sleep 4 hours a day. I don't. I sleep normally at least 6 to 7 hours. All right. So when I trade the markets at 2 o'clock, I wake up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I don't wake up at 7. You know,
That's
so
the advantage of being your own boss.
Yeah. So I'm a very late sleeper, but I'm also a late riser. Yeah. So you got to get your 6 to 7 hours. Yeah. And exercise is very important to maintain your energy.
I think he's speaking to you. Hello.
I mean,
This guy, in
okay.
Malay we call it bodoh, no? Okay. All right. Okay. Yes.
Hi, my name is Nur Yusuf. I'll try to keep
You got to speak up.
My name
We
is
can't hear you.
Nur
Sorry.
Yusuf. I'm an occupational therapist. I work with children and I also work with elderlies. And because I was listening to the part about don't put your ego above your organization and all that, I have this, I have a goal. I want to be the best OT in Singapore.
So you want to, sorry?
I want to be
got a
the
goal.
best OT in
You want
Singapore.
to invest?
You want to be the best
OT.
occupational therapist.
Best occupational therapist, okay?
Yeah. So I have this belief that I will not compromise, and that is I will put the well-being of the client above all else. And I've always taken choices, and I put my client first. So I quit my first job that is actually paying me 2 times more than my current job because I cannot support the organization that doesn't put the client first. And now I'm in the next job, and it's a really good place. And then I come across another problem because now I'm in charge of a rehab center for elderlies. And then I'm challenging my boss, and I'm like, what's up? Something's got to change if you want to help the clients and all that. So every time I hit an obstacle, I will want to change it and to improve it. So we got this part of okay, let's change for the best. Follow your dreams, and you'll be successful. And at the same time, I have that feeling of that, I always want to make things better. It's actually taking so much energy for me. Am I going down a path of self-destruction?
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything wrong. Okay, first of all, I always believe that it's in alignment. What's best for the client is always best for you. What's best for the client is always best for the company. I always say that take care of your customers, they will take care of your business. It is always aligned, right? And a company that doesn't put the customers first obviously won't last for very long.
Yeah.
All right. So that is definitely a value you have to hold on to. Now, the question you're saying is do I tire myself out? Is that?
Yeah. Am I gonna? It's because you got that part of follow your dreams and you're gonna be a millionaire, and then you got that part of okay, if I keep on having that that thing in my head I'm gonna help the world make it better. I'm gonna give all my energy, and it's so tiring. You know what I mean? It's quite. So
I would
that's
say. Yeah. Well, actually, sometimes when you have that dream, okay, it gives you more energy.
That's true.
And people who have got no dreams have got no energy. People who have got no dreams, they only got nightmares. They wake up in the morning and they just say that word "sian." All right? But when you got a dream, that gives you energy. So it's the other way around, in fact. In fact, sometimes I feel that when I'm on stage, the more energy I give to the crowd, the more energy I get back. If I stand up there and talk like that, wanting to conserve energy, in fact, I feel even less energetic. So it kind of bounces back. The world bounces your energy back. The more you give, the more it bounces back.
Yeah.
Also,
I just want...
if I may add, if you're not there, I mean, you strike me as a very good occupational therapist, someone with very strong, who's committed.
I am because, sorry, can I just say one thing for all the NUS students that's going to go to work, right? I just moved from a job that was paying me so much more, and I downgraded my salary to a job that was paying me so much less, but it skilled me and it empowered me and it taught me so much that money cannot replace. So that's one thing that I hold on to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a big sacrifice. So sometimes I'm thinking, it's like go for your goal, and at the same time,
But it's not a sacrifice.
It's not.
My dear, it's not a sacrifice, it's a trade-off.
yeah.
And you've got to decide whether this one gives you more value than just money.
Yeah.
But it's a decision that only you can make.
Yeah. Well, I'm very glad with that decision because my current place it really gives me that feeling that I'm helping people, So.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Khoo. I'm Andy. Right, so as according to you, one of the greatest value that to success is, of course, the belief system that we have, of course, and the desire, the dreams that we have, like mentioned just now. So actually, I believe that if you ask like everyone here, do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to be successful? Everyone wants to be successful, but how do you push that kind of desire, that kind of belief to a higher level that really push you forward and really gives you the energy to really produce more and really become successful?
Okay. I always say that you will never achieve anything in life until it becomes a must, until it becomes a commitment, until it becomes an obsession. So if you look at Tiger Woods, before the downfall, he was obsessed with golf. Steve Jobs was obsessed with technology. You've got to be obsessed, you've got to be committed. And most people in life are not committed. It's like, I wish, I hope, I want. They're not committed. And there's a big difference. You see, when you wish to achieve something, you will take action only if it's convenient, only if it's easy. But the moment it becomes inconvenient and not easy, you give yourself excuses. I've got something else to do, I can't do, it's too difficult, I don't have the time, right? But when something is a must and it's a commitment, you will take action even if it's inconvenient, and you're willing to do whatever it takes. Of course, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral. But you're willing to pay the price. And like I say, what's the price? Just now I mentioned 10,000 hours of doing something consistently and consistently improving again and again. So how many people out there are truly committed to something? I would say less than 10%.
So how would you make the kind of people like who would just want it become like really commit to must have it?
Okay. First of all, it must be something they really, really are committed to do, right? You can't force them to do something which is not in line with their values, okay? So if someone is not committed to something, it could be because it's not in line with their values. It's not something they really want. They're doing it for their father, for their mother, for something else. So I'll ask them, what is really important to you in life? Okay, if you had all the money in the world and money was not an issue, what would you want to do? And that's how you find your passion. See, when you find your passion, the motivation comes automatically. You don't have to force yourself because your work is your play and your play is your work. Then you're automatically obsessed. So if you're not committed and obsessed with something, it's because it's not your thing. And you've got to keep searching until you find that thing. It's like the late Steve Jobs says, don't settle.
Yeah.
Don't settle for less than what your heart calls you to do. And one of the things that I do, now sometimes you can be really passionate and really obsessed, but sometimes you also may give excuses, right? So one technique I do is that I put myself on the line. And one way I do it is that I keep talking about it. For example, if I want to write my next book and get it out, I'll tell everyone about it.
You commit.
And I keep talking about it. When you keep talking about it, you put yourself on the line. You don't give yourself excuses.
Right, Ken, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. We'll go to him, then we'll come to you. To you. Come and join us first. Yes, to you first.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Yeah, very happy to be here. Yeah, back to school here. Yeah, nice to see Mr. Adam Khoo here. It's second time. Last time I actually graduated from US Business School as well. Yeah, so good to see you, senior here.
Okay.
Yep. What happened is that just now during your presentation, right, you mentioned about your business venture to a different part of different countries, right? So as you mentioned that you are venture into mainland China, right? So I'm just curious about in which area you are venturing into.
Okay, right now for China, we're only doing the children's program. Only the children's program.
So
we have a wide range. We do financial training, corporate training, but China is only the children's program. 我是天才，你也是。Right?
So the training is actually
That's the only line he knows in
That's the only line I know. Okay.
The training is conducted in Chinese or is it?
It's being taught in Chinese. So obviously I'm not teaching them. But China is one of our youngest markets. In fact, I was just telling some people behind, China is the toughest market you can ever go to. It's a really tough market, right? My other markets like Indonesia and Vietnam, so easy. China is very difficult. Right? It's very competitive, and the people there, they're not as trusting. You know, you say that you can run this program to change the kids, sure, you know. But in Indonesia, when you say that I'm from Singapore, oh, Singapore, you know. China is challenging to get an education license.
Which part of
Dalian, we are starting off in Dalian.
Liaoning provinces.
Dalian and Hangzhou and Guangzhou.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Li Weidi here. Yeah,
Okay.
good to see you here. And then second question.
No, sorry. One question.
One question.
Later you got a chance to go and talk to him
Okay,
privately.
okay.
Huh?
Sure.
Because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Huh? I hope you don't mind.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Waqas Chima, and I'm the president of ASEANpreneurs, and we invited you
President
back
of
in
what?
February. ASEANpreneurs, and we invited you back in February this year to give a talk. So my question is very much related to leadership and self-belief, because that's the field I'm really into. So I've seen, it's very natural to see in other leaders as well as my life, that with more self-belief as a leader, there comes more ego, as well as self-esteem goes higher. And there comes a point when you start becoming more arrogant in a way that you do. And a lot of leaders have faced this situation, and I suppose probably in your life you would have faced that situation. So is it really a bad thing to have a very high ego and arrogance that comes with a self-belief? Or is there a way to manage that?
It's like fire. It's like fire, right? So you need enough fire to drive you and all that. But if the fire gets out of control, it's going to burn you, right? Now, how do you manage that? Sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes life will manage it for you. And I'll give a very good metaphor about the market, since I trade all the time. The moment you think you're invincible and money can be made so easily, that's when the market will go against you and you lose a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Same thing about life. The moment you get arrogant, life has a way of slapping you in the face and say, hey, you're not as good as you think, dude. All right? So life will wake you up, don't worry. And it comes in the form of setbacks and failures. And when you go through that, that's the time when you tell yourself that, hey, you know what? I need to keep being better. You're never at the top. You know, and I mean, that's what happened to Donald Trump when he lost everything in the 80s. That's what happened to a lot of people. And Steve Jobs, when he got kicked out of Apple, happened to me a few times when things didn't go my way and you really wake up. So I constantly remind myself that in today's world, a Nokia, a number one, can be zero tomorrow. All right, a zero like Apple in the smartphone can be number one tomorrow. Things change so fast. And the moment you get arrogant, you get complacent, that's it. Okay? People will take away what you have.
Just one thing to add. What works for me, surround yourself with good friends and empower them to scold you. Yeah, I mean that. Not about 100 friends, 3 friends. Because you can't take 100 friends scolding you. 3 friends, close friends, and give them the power to haul you up and drag you by the scruff of your neck and tell you what a bloody fool you are. That keeps you in check.
Yeah. My wife does it for me, actually.
Yeah. But that's not, I mean, that's a regular thing.
What do you think you are?
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Right, yes.
All right, hi Adam. This is Faith here. 7 years ago, I actually attended your talk in NUS.
Is there anyone here who hasn't attended his talk?
I don't know. But it was really good. I attended the NLP reframing, so I could still remember it. So I just one question, you know, I've been following the entire sharing, and there were many things that you shared. For example, from the video, you mentioned about belief, making a habit. When you share with us, and then you're saying that, you know, be committed to your dreams, be accountable to your dreams, share your dreams and goals to people around. I'm just curious, you know, for someone whereby he or she is doing well, maybe in the sense of career or business, but you really want to break through to a higher level. Yeah. In your opinion, what are the 3 most important ingredients so that you can really push yourself further forward for the greater breakthrough in life?
I would say number 1, find a role model. You know, I think we all need heroes, right? So if you're in a certain industry, ask yourself, who is the best in that industry? May or may not be in Singapore. It could be somewhere in the world. And learn all you can about that person. If you're lucky enough to have the person as a mentor, which is rare, that'll be great. If not, attend seminars, read books written on a person, and that's what I did all my life. So every time when I go into a certain area, whether it's in NLP or it's in speaking or it's in investing, I look for heroes. I look for role models. And I ask myself, what do they have that makes them who they are? And then I focus on developing those skills. And that's how you keep pushing yourself to the next level. Because no matter where you are, there's going to be someone who's better. Right? So look for a role model and model that person. And live by a philosophy of continuous and never-ending improvement. Right? That you can't maintain the status quo. Because things around us are moving so fast that if you stay where you are, you're not actually staying where you are. You're actually moving backwards. So you have to keep moving just to stay where you are. And you have to move even faster than the surroundings to move ahead. So just keep reminding yourself of that.
And the third one?
No more third one. I don't know how she came out.
Sorry, he only gives you 2. The third one maybe later during the chat. Thank you. All right, the finale. Your question better be good, huh?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay.
I'm trying to. Okay, my name is Prashant.
Could you go closer to the mic, please?
Okay, my name is Prashant and I'm an NUS MBA alumni. And I'm one of those guys who hasn't attended any of your talks. Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way. My question is, I personally believe that the previous generation than what it is today, whether it is mine or the Gen Y, was equally successful as this one, if not more. But there were no Adam Khoos around. They didn't need an Adam Khoo to be successful. Why do you think today's generation needs an Adam Khoo or the likes to be motivated? Is it because we understand this science of motivation more tools available? Or is it because our education system doesn't motivate us enough? I think we have a system which doesn't allow us to learn anything. We are just crammers, we just learn stuff. But I'm trying to figure out, why does it that we need an Adam Khoo to motivate us and want us to have more self-belief and stuff?
Okay. First of all, let me disclaim that I don't motivate people. I empower people to motivate themselves and give them the tools and the opportunities, right? So you motivate yourself. And I'm not just a person who gets you to say, I'm going to take action, right? But to actually give you the specific tools on how do you take action in whether it's your finance or your business, your career. Now, to answer the second question, so-called, why do we need an Adam Khoo now when we never need an Adam Khoo, right? Adam Khoo, if you use as a metaphor for someone who pushes you to be the best you can be, is not new, all right? 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, there have always been these inspirational speakers. Example, Dale Carnegie. What's of Dale Carnegie? Napoleon Hill, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Gandhi, okay. Go back far enough, Jesus, okay, or Buddha, or whatever, right? These are teachers. These are people who teach you to be the best. And I can tell you something interesting. I find that a lot of the techniques that I talk about, which is like, take responsibility for your life and all that, it's nothing new. Like Confucius said it hundreds of years ago. It's just a different way of saying it. It's just contextualizing it to today's thing, right? So it's always been around. There have been people like that all the time.
Right, thank you. With that, it's 9 o'clock. We've overrun. Give him a big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, God already knows that the world we live in today needs people who can empower people who are constantly made to feel that they are less than what or who they are. I meet a lot of such individuals, young individuals, every day. Because of the nature of my work, I meet them, and it breaks my heart. There's nothing worse than seeing a young person lose heart. So I'm not impressed as much about the wealth you created. I'm really moved by the number of lives you have touched over the years.
Thank you.
In spite of yourself. No, but really, I think we need a lot more people. And the reason why you're able to do that, Adam, is because of your own life journey. You have the credibility to do what you're doing. And I wish many others like you would step out of the shadows and do what you do. And it needs this. It needs this from the heart to go out there and do it. And we're exceptionally proud to have you as one of us, our alumni.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. So that you don't go away without something from us. Here's a picture of you with me. It was just taken just now,
Wow.
right? Actually, I'm slightly better looking than you. Okay. But this is so that you'll remember this evening. You have touched a lot of hearts, and I think you've made a lot of us reflect on things. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And Adam, now you're going to write something nice about us.
Okay.
In particular about me.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you're going to read it to the crowd.
So I address it to NUS alumni.
Anybody. To me also can. While he's busy crafting some kind words, I just want to highlight to you that next month is the last You Alive for this year. And You Alive guest for next month is Tan Chuan Jin, right? Who is the acting minister for manpower, right? And so if you're free, please join us. I believe it's going to be quite an interesting session. We will make it interesting, shall we? Right? So please remember, it's on the 15th, right? 15th? 15th of November. It's a Thursday, right? And those of you who can, please stay back and feel free to approach Adam. Get more tips. Are you done, Adam?
Not yet.
This guy, give him a pen, he writes a book, you know.
Okay, I'm done.
You want to read it?
Dear NUS alumni, it was an honor to share my ideas with you, and I thank you for listening wholeheartedly. I wish you all the very best. Live with passion.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We'll keep this first.
Thank you.
Right, shall we go? Out? Thank you. Your mic. We'll get someone to pick.